video, we will demonstrate how SecuPi can protect sensitive PHI data in OpenBravo, an open source healthcare practice management application. To begin, we will log in as the facility administrator. When I log in, you'll notice that I have a list of all of my patients, and the sensitive data that's associated with each one is easily accessible for me as an administrator. Of note, you'll see name, first and last. You'll see social security number, as well as email address. These are all sensitive, directly identifying characteristics that we would want to protect in a PHI situation. Okay, we'll log out. And we'll switch over to my SecuPi environment. Here you can see SecuPi. SecuPi provides capabilities through a single pane of glass to not only mitigate sensitive data, provide the appropriate level of protections for data for the individuals that are consuming it, but also the ability to monitor and govern that requests for such data across all applications in an enterprise. In this case, we're looking at the traffic or the requests specific to the Open Clinic application. You can see here that we've got these requests from Frank Verbecki, our admin that we just made those requests for, and you can see various aspects or attributes that we've obtained from that application. Again, an important aspect of the SecuPi platform is that we work at the application layer, able to gain attribute knowledge from the application as opposed to working down at the database level where we'd only have application pool or service ID at information about the user. Here you can see that we've got Frank Verbecki's traffic and various information about the request that he's making of the application. What we're going to do is we're going to look at the configuration. Okay. Under the configuration, SecuPi provides the ability to build rules and policies at various stages of the data request, from the actual application request of the user request from the application, the actual construction of the data request of the underlying database, as well as the data once it's actually been formed from the database and its response. In this case, what we've done is we've created 3 rules. As we said, we want to protect social security number, in this case, first name and email. We're going to leave last name in the clear for all of our other users. In this rule for masking social security number, what we'll note is that for anyone other than Frank Verbecki, as we negate this rule, so if it equals Frank, we negate this rule. So anyone other than Frank that's logged in, this rule will apply, is going to get a masked version of social security number. In this case, we're going to mask it with X's. Okay, this is all here. We'll enable that, obviously. The next rule that we're going to do is we're going to encrypt first name. So SecuPi, in its data mitigation capabilities, provides the ability to, on a column-by-column basis, set what type of rule we want to apply. It's not binary in making us just encrypt fields, but we can also do masking, encryption, redaction, tokenization, a whole host of different capabilities, all within a column-by-column basis, thus being able to preserve as much utility in that data while still protecting it to the appropriate levels. So in this particular rule, we're actually going to encrypt the first name, in this case, using a technique of ASCII format preserving encryption. Okay. Lastly, we're going to provide a rule for email as well. Again, only applying it to anyone but Frank, our administrator. And in this case, we're doing very similarly to we did to the first one. In this case, we're going to keep the last 4 characters and mask everything else with an X for email address. Okay. So those are my rules. They're enabled. Now let's go back to our Open Clinic environment. And we're going to log in this time as a head of nursing, Mildred. Mildred, while very important to the organization, isn't the administrator. And therefore, those rules, since she's not Frank Verbecki, now apply to the data. Very quickly, you can see that each of my patients are still there. However, that encryption rule has been applied to the first name. And if we look at Mr. Putty, what we're going to see here is the other two rules have also been applied. Here, we've masked the first 5 digits of the Social Security number, leaving the last 4 in the clear. And similarly, for email address, we've masked the entire email address except for the last 4 characters. Okay. Now, let's go back to SecuPi for a moment and take a look at what kind of information we've just tracked. So SecuPi, as I said before, not only mitigates data requests, enforces policy on those data requests based on who someone is, where they're coming from, various attributes that are obtained from the application, but it also tracks that information as well. So here you can see that Nurse Ratched has made a number of requests, and you can see very quickly that we've done some rewrites on that. Rewrites are the application of rules to actual columns of data. So if we look at our last one here and we drill into the details, you're going to see the full forensic analysis of that particular request. And if we look at our rewrite event, you'll see that in this particular request, this is where we were rewriting that first name with that particular encryption technique. Okay. So in addition to real-time event tracking or data request tracking, we can also do this on a user-by-user level. So if I were to click on the users here, you can see all of the various people that have logged into my environment. And if we look at Frank here in detail, I'm now looking at detailed analysis of Frank's activity. In this case, let's look over the last 7 days. And let's look at it by minute. You're going to see a lot of detail here, and you can see the risk associated with Frank's requests in comparison to other users. A very powerful analysis that allows me to do things like being able to see when Frank's requests may outweigh the norm and therefore require some sort of limitation. Also, I can see every request that Frank has made as an administrator across the history, and this is something that we can track or offload to other applications. And then finally, the last thing we can have here are analytical alerts. And while I have none set up right now, we could set these up to analyze Frank's behavior or Mildred's behavior and get an understanding and take action when their behaviors are leading to something that could be seen as potentially dangerous behavior from a data request perspective. Okay. So what we've seen here is taking a simple application, in this case, Open Clinic, an open source healthcare practice management application, and we've utilized SecuPi to apply data mitigation techniques to that are appropriate with the user's role that are accessing that. Thus, obviously protecting the privacy and data security of the individual patients within the application, and also providing a very easy way to provide data security and governance to this healthcare organization. Thank you.